I earned my degree online at Arizona State University. I chose to get my degree at ASU because I knew that I'd get a quality education, they were recognized for excellence, and that I would be prepared for the workforce upon graduating. To be associated with ASU, both as a student and alum, it makes me extremely proud, and having experienced the program, I know now that I'm set up for success. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.
Coming up on this episode of the Mario Rosenstock Podcast.
Traditionally, financial freedom or financial independence would have been the concept: work for the same person for 40 years, stop working one day, and then go play golf. You just swanned off into the sunset and you never worked again. Financial freedom now is more got to do with choices. It's about the concept of reaching a day in your life where you've created enough wealth from all sources that you don't have to work again, you don't have to worry about money.
Eoin McGee is one of Ireland's best-known financial advisors, and he's also someone I've got to know a little bit over the last few years. He used to join me regularly on Mario's Sunday Roast on Today FM, and he was always a great man for having a laugh and expressing a strong opinion too. His latest book is called How to Achieve Financial Freedom, Create Enough Wealth to Stop Working, and I reckon it's going to be very popular. I mean, who wouldn't want to know how to do that? But as you're about to hear, there's a little bit more to it than just making lots of money. And Eoin shares some great advice about how we could all take more control of our wallets and become a lot more financially independent as a result. But we also talk about other stuff. We talk about our attitudes to money in Ireland in general and why it isn't particularly healthy, certainly compared to other places like the United States. He shares a very personal story from his childhood about a difficult situation that made him want to become a financial advisor. And we talk about the importance of being in the moment, why working longer can be better than retirement, and lots more.
We have 160 billion sitting in bank accounts right now. Not working at all.
That's 2%.
It's on crappy interest rates. The biggest mistake we see is people work hard for their money, but their money doesn't work hard for them. In the States, if you succeed, it's well done, you get a pat on the back. If you fail, you get a pat on the back and say, you're going to learn from that.
Get up off your ass.
You're going to do
get drunk at the weekend and get up on Monday and start a new company.
And go again. And there's no shame in failure, whereas here there is. But I was standing in the hall in the court, and there's people who are maybe a little bit down on their luck or on the wrong side of the law, and there's a varying range of people in the hall waiting to go into the court to see the judge. So I kind of you could see him looking at me, and he kind of come over and he says, "You're a man off the telly, aren't you?" And I said, "Yeah, that's right. Can I just ask you something?" I said, "Jim, you know when you're going for a house and you're getting a mortgage?" And I said, "Yeah. Did they ask you where you got the deposit?"
But first, what are we all talking about at the moment? What can we not stop talking about? That's right. The weather. The bleeding weather. Irish people talking about the weather. It's a perfect storm of conversation, isn't it? And that's what we're talking about all week long. Is it ever going to stop? Everyone is talking about the rain and the floods.
Tonight on Prime Time, as the relentless rain and flooding continues throughout Ireland, we ask, when will it all end? As today, even Bono has come out publicly with a statement asking for the rain to pause so that people can be allowed to stand down their umbrellas once and for all. In studio, I'm joined by Simon Harris.
Hi, Miriam.
Come here, Simon Harris. What measures are the government taking?
Well, Miriam, I want to be very clear about this. We have taken immediate action and I have appointed myself Minister for Floods.
You? Floods?
As well as temporary head of the Road Safety Association.
No, but hang on, you're already tarnished the Minister for Finance and Chairman of the Wicklow Tidy Towns Committee. What do you know about extreme weather?
So I have thought about that, Miriam. That's why I've also appointed myself interim head of Met Éireann.
What?
Now, if you look at the screen to my right, from 0600 hours to 800 hours, Mallinhead to Mizenhead, as you can see, there is a complex Atlantic low weather system forming. 978 hectopascals, rising slowly.
Yeah, but...
Belmont, south to southeast wind, visibility moderate or poor, 815 millibars, falling slowly.
Okay.
Erishead to Loophead, southwest veering force 6 to 8, isobars slackening.
What are you talking about, Simon?
I have a debris, but it'll make a great post on Instagram.
The current weather is dominating the airwaves. Welcome back to the Today Show, folks.
Aye.
The weather outside Ufossock. Now it's competition time, Maura.
Oh, carts galore, Dahi.
Which famous tribunal started in the 90s? Was it A, the Sunny Tribunal? Was it B, the Hailstones Tribunal, or C, the Flood Tribunal.
Oh, that's really difficult, Dougie. Really tricky.
As a nation, at times like this, we're all glued to the news. The flooding is particularly bad in Westmeath, but that still didn't stop Enoch Burke for turning up this morning at Wilson's Hospital in a canoe.
I have a constitutional right to be here. Get him, Sergeant! I'm puddling as fast as I can, Chief.
Very slippery, Chief. Widespread flooding has meant people have had to come up with novel ways of getting to work. These employees at Google's headquarters in Dublin don't seem to mind.
Yeah, it's actually quite handy, finally getting a bit of use out of the old jet skis.
Yeah, the jet skis from Bangmarion into Barrow Street is only 12 minutes.
Did you see St. John rocked up this morning on the old George C. Scott?
What?
He moored the yoke right up outside Paddy Cullen's Boozer. Splendid.
The bad news is we haven't seen the end of it yet. The good news is...
That's right, folks. Welcome to the Late Late Show Flood Special. Coming up tonight, we celebrate the lifetimes and career of the great Theresa Mannion. Stay right here and don't take any unnecessary journeys. Ha ha!
Started on the Late Show.
Brand new comedy every week on the Mario Rosenstock Podcast. And of course, you can contact me directly, MarioRosenstock@gmail.com. Contact me with anything you want at all. Comments about the show, suggestions for guests, suggestions for sketches, constructive criticism, or just heap me with praise if you want to. Also, I'm on tour for 4 gigs only this spring. I'm in Mullingar Arts Centre on the 21st of February. I'm in the Black Box in Galway, which is just about sold out, on the 28th of February. I'm in Lime Tree, Limerick on the 7th of March. And I'm in the Dean Crowe Theatre at Athlone on the 17th of April. All the tickets are gone for nearly all those dates. But I think there are some available at Venue Box Office, wherever you may be. Thanks to you for listening, of course, and tell one other person about this project. But listen, it's time now to get over to the GoLoud studio, where financial planner Eoin McGee is standing by and ready to share how we can become financially independent. And it's certainly not the first time that Eoin and I have shared a studio.
Okay, Eoin, thanks. Great to see you again.
Great to see you,
You
Mario.
used to come on the Sunday roast years ago.
What a great morning. I used to actually really enjoy that. I like the kind of, you didn't know where it was going to take you.
Yeah.
You didn't know what was going to happen. You were obviously talking about stuff about the week, but then it would end up being something about your life or my life or the other person's life, whoever we were sharing.
And you were a fairly regular commentator on it. And you've written your new book, which is How to Achieve Financial Freedom. Now, obviously, you have not achieved financial freedom yet, as you are standing and sitting here.
Interestingly enough, no, you've got now. This is where it's changed.
Okay,
so traditionally, financial freedom or financial independence, kind of interchangeable, it would have been the concept: work for the same person for 40 years, stop working one day, and then go play golf or read the paper every
and have
morning.
a heart attack the next year.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's probably what happened. There's a reason behind that as well. But that was traditionally, you just swanned off into the sunset and you never worked again. Financial freedom now is more got to do with choices. It's got to do with, and particularly in the last 15 years, it's changed a lot. I've seen it in private practice change a lot, where it's about the concept of reaching a day in your life where you've created enough wealth from all sources that you don't have to work again, you don't have to worry about money. Okay? Now, beyond that point, if you decide to work, you're going to work because you want to, not because you need to. So if you think about it, I've had people who have reached financial independence. They've hated their job. They get to financial independence and 3 months later they're still in their job. And I'm saying, are you still working away? Yeah. Why? It's like what you said, I'm working as I want to and not because I need to. And I drive home in the evening after a really bad day and I ask myself genuinely, do I want to go in tomorrow? And I keep choosing to go in. But also it gives people the freedom to say, you know what, I always wanted to take my skills in the corporate world and apply them to that charity. Or I wanted to, some people have actually very recent times, I'd love to be a librarian. I know someone else who wants to be a postman, right? And they're post person, is that what we call them, Mario? And the concept is, it's not about just getting to a point that you never work again. It's about getting to a point where you have total freedom over your finances to allow you to do whatever it is you want to do.
Yeah, and also I think the whole idea of, well, one word you didn't mention there yet is retirement.
Yes.
And the whole idea of retirement now has become bogus.
Yeah.
I mean, in a way, I remember even the idea back in the 70s, you were an old man when you were 40. And people used to say, don't worry about it, life begins at 40. But you're going to die next year. Right? So 40 was old.
Yeah.
And people looked old when they were 40. Remember, they do these things on Instagram now and things of people back when they're 40 in 1982, when they're 40 in 2026.
Yeah.
And they did look old. They looked way older than we look.
Yeah.
And they retired, and retirement was seen as an aspiration. It was seen like, I'm nearly there. I'm on the race and I'll be there and I'll get retired. I'm going to retire when I'm 63, but I might retire when I'm 59. Get another 4 years out of it. Typically what happens is they hit the golf course and have a coronary a year later because they lost purpose.
They lost meaning and purpose. You're absolutely right. In fact, the research shows us that for every year beyond normal retirement age we work, our life expectancy increases by 11%. Yeah. Now, there's a couple of different things.
Very interesting statistic.
Yeah, there is a couple of things playing into that statistic. So if there's a statistician listening to this, they'll pull it apart and say, but I think just leave it alone as it is. That's the stat, 11%. Now, we could get into it, but it doesn't. I think the huge portion of that, and I've counselled lots of clients through this over the years, where let's just take your very traditional 40 years in the job and you leave and you put everything into that job. And 3 weeks later, nobody has rang you and said, the place is burning down without you.
Yeah.
What do we do? So
Yeah.
you're sitting at home scratching your head going, why did I let that thing keep me awake at 2 a.m?
Yeah.
The thing just functions without me. Right? So it's that kind of, and then you question lots of things about the decisions you've made in life.
Yeah.
And that's why we always encourage, and people say, oh, you encourage it at like kind of 59, planning to retire at 60, practicing retirement. No, you need to practice your retirement from your 30s, from your 40s. You need to start trying to figure out, outside of my work, what it is that I enjoy in life.
Yeah, exactly. And investing in that.
And spending time.
And some money.
Absolutely. And making sure that you can... But there is another problem with that. Like we've mentioned the golf course, right? There's a problem with that. When you go from working away and getting out to the golf course once a week, or maybe if you're really lucky, twice a week, right? And you're exceptionally lucky, you're getting out a couple of times. When that moves from your hobby to stopping work and now golf becomes your job... it can strip a lot of the joy out of it, because now all you have is so you need to make sure you've got a couple of different things going on in your life. But ultimately, like, I put a lot of research into this book because this is a step. But this is a step beyond just kind of, look, for me, of course, money is important, right? But the only reason we should spend any time or energy trying to get our money sorted out is so that it can support the life we want to have. Okay, the money actually isn't important. It's what the money can do for us.
When you say the life we want to have, do you mean the life... Let's pin that down more. Is it the life we want to have when we're daydreaming and watching the lotto ad and we want to build a water fountain outside our apartment? I've never seen anybody with money do that, by the way.
I know they
What the hell is your man doing? He wins 6 million, right? And he goes, yeah, fulfill all my dreams. He builds a water slide outside his apartment. What an idiot.
It goes through a sitting room. But I think the point of that ad, to be fair, is do whatever you want.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is your point that enough financial freedom to do what you would like to do, is that realistically in your own mind's eye, or is it a kind of an aspiration to be rich?
No, sorry. Rich it's an interesting one when you talk about rich, because it's about a good financial plan has you reaching financial independence as early as possible in life, but not to the detriment of today. You have to enjoy today. We may not have tomorrow.
Can somebody be financially independent but yet still have to work?
No, not necessarily. We could all be financially independent. Technically, me and you could be financially independent right now. And I know nothing about your finances, right? But you could be financially independent right now and not know it, is one thing, because nobody's ever done the maths and figured out how much is enough. Yeah. But also, practically everybody, if they could pull together a couple of grand and they were willing to move to some random place and live off the land.
Yeah, if you wanted to live in Uganda.
Yes. Yeah.
If you wanted to sell your house in Dublin.
Yeah.
And liquidate anywhere between 900 or 1,000 euro or whatever or above, you could go to Uganda.
But not even that. With about 10 grand, you could go to, you said Uganda, I'm going to say Outer Mongolia, because that's what we always said as a kid. I don't know.
Outer Mongolia,
yeah. You just go to somewhere in the forest somewhere and set up, and you are financially free because you live off the land, right? And you don't need to charge your phone, right? So the thing that the chains that hold us to being financially free are the luxuries we like in life. And some of them are necessities in a modern world, but they're the luxuries. So technically, it's not really about how much money you have in retirement. It's how much money you spend.
Yes.
That's actually the key to it.
Yes.
And most of us can't control how much money we earn. Most of us. But all of us can control how much we spend.
Yes.
Once we get beyond the basic needs.
Yeah.
So what I would say is that it is, when you're talking about reaching financial independence and getting joy from life, you have to get that balance right between someday I'm going to be doing this all the time and making sure you're enjoying enough of it today. And if you think about it, I don't know if you're following the trend on social media where kind of show me a picture of you in 2016 and people were showing a picture of themselves 10 years ago and a picture of them today. Or what were you doing in 2016? I'm not actually sure, but you're seeing loads of pictures 2016. Like if I really challenge you now, right, I'd say you could think about stuff that happened to you in your life, experiences you had in and around 2016. Okay?
Yes.
You don't need to share them, but I bet you can't tell me what iPhone you had. I bet you, maybe you might be able to tell me what car you had, but I bet you can tell me about the experiences, but you can't tell me about the things you had then. Okay? And one of the things I find, and we're lucky enough, we get lots of lotto winners. We get lots of people who sell their business. We get lots of people who inherit money or come into money suddenly. And one of the things they learn very quickly is money is not, life isn't about money, it's about time.
Yeah.
It's about, and how you spend your time, not how you spend your money. There was an amazing piece of research that was done by Harvard. It's a longitudinal study. Don't ask me to say that again because I always struggle with it and I got it out that time, right? But it was a big long study, right? Over a very long period. I think it's over 80 years. They followed the same group of people the whole way up. I think one of the Clintons was involved in it, right? But it just happened to be, that's what, and they tracked their wealth, their health, their careers, their success. They tracked their lives all the way through. And they didn't set out to try and discover this, but what they've discovered is the true meaning of happiness comes from our relationships. Okay? And it's not necessarily to do with your partner and you, right? Like as in a romantic relationship. And it's actually nothing to do with the quantity of relationships you have. It's to do with the quality of relationships you have. And the true meaning of happiness, or the true source of happiness, is based on the strength of the relationships we have in our lives. And when I strip it back with people and I'm really getting to the nitty gritty of what it is that makes life tick for you, what's important to you, what are your goals, your values and objectives, it's always about people. I want to spend time with people. If you had won the lotto yesterday, what are you doing today? Spend more time with people. I remember during lockdown, Mario, I asked my followers at the time, and it was massive. We were all bored, right? But the response was about 10 or 12,000 people replied. I asked the question, do you remember the really awful lockdown we had? It was post-Christmas, longest in Europe. We were all miserable, right? And it was January, February blues on steroids. And I asked, what do you miss most? And people said, I miss drinks with my friends or dinners or staying in hotels or matches or whatever. And I looked at all these and there was thousands of replies. And I looked at all the replies, and when you looked at the top 4 or 5, people
It was experiences with people.
Yeah, people missed people. That's what they missed. And really what you're trying to capture, what I'm trying to capture in this book is get the finances right so you can spend your time and energy on the stuff that's actually really important.
Yeah.
But you have to figure out for you what's important.
Yes.
What's really important. I talk about someone in the book actually. And interesting, this person doesn't like taking breaks from work. Right? It's not because she's mad about her job. It's not because when she goes back to work, there's twice as much work to do. It's that when she goes back to work, what she loves to do on her holidays is nothing. She's happy just to close the front door and sit in her sitting room or sit in her conservatory and read a book for a week and then go back to work. That's her level of, that's what she loves. But what she hates about it is she takes that time off, she goes back, and people say, oh, what you do on your holidays? And she goes, nothing really. And she hates that awkwardness of people going, but you know what? She is on it better than most people.
Knows what she wants.
She knows exactly what it is she wants.
Yeah.
It happens to be simple. It happens to be straightforward.
Absolutely. And you're right. And just occurred to me, picking up on one of the two things you said there, people who come to your company maybe having inherited money or having won money. And I've thought about this quite a bit and just watched people and seen it happen. And it's really clear from the more you see that when people have or acquire or suddenly acquire or win a large amount of money, it is a very big albatross around their neck.
Yeah.
It also causes a lot of trouble. And people going, yeah, I'd love that kind of trouble.
Yeah.
5 million quid's worth of trouble. Try it. Really? Would you? Try it. Here's what's going to happen to you. Suddenly, you're going to start getting paranoid, wondering which members of your family like you anymore, if they ever did. Or which friends of yours are suddenly not friends of yours anymore. And that's going to be going on inside your head.
Yep.
Because people's attitude to you is going to change. And depending on your psychological makeup, that's going to change you.
Yeah.
Second of all, money takes time to manage. It also, you have to give trust to other people to manage it. Financial managers, companies. You also have to pay people to manage it. You're going to have to give away money for them to manage your money.
Yeah.
So money is a very, very dangerous thing for somebody who isn't, like anything else in life, used to dealing with the problem of having money. And it is a problem.
And what I would say, I'm
sure you've seen that.
I'm sorry, I have absolutely seen it. And I've seen a sadness in people who win the lotto, right? So the first thing that I wonder why we get a disproportionate amount. I think I figured out why we get a disproportionate amount of lotto winners. If you win the lotto or you come into money suddenly, you don't have a team of people around you built already as you built this wealth. And you kind of go, oh, there's your man off the telly, or there's your man off Mario's podcast. I'm going to go to him, and they come to us. But you're absolutely right. Like, you've hit the nail on the head. You start to question all of your relationships.
Yeah.
Right? You're walking up Grafton Street and you bump into a schoolmate you haven't seen in 25 years, and you wonder, did they orchestrate that?
Yep.
Did they? You can get paranoid very quickly. And don't underestimate the sadness. Like, I have witnessed the sadness of people, right, when they've won the money. And you're sitting at their kitchen table, or they're sitting in my office, and there's kind of an air of sadness, and they can feel the sadness.
I know what you're talking about.
And they're saying, then they're feeling guilty because they're feeling sad.
I know what you're saying.
And what I've established to be the problem here is their life has changed forever. Now, your buddy you were talking about there, I'll try it. Absolutely try it. Go for it, right? But their life has changed forever. It might be better. They might have more time to do the things that they wanted to do, that they've always wanted to do. They might have the money to be able to do the things. But their life has absolutely changed forever. And there is a grief in that. And you should be allowed to be sad, even though it should be the happiest.
Say goodbye to their previous life.
Yes, yeah. And then people might say, oh yeah, well, you know what I do? If there's that many problems about walking up Grafton Street or Connell Street or wherever, right? Walking up the street and bumping into someone and questioning why you bumped into them, I just stay private. You should see the pressure people are under when they stay private and they keep it to themselves.
Really?
Oh, it's horrendous because...
When they stay private?
When they stay private, they don't tell anyone, right? Because then they change the car. You know, I think they were looking at my car.
Oh, right. So then they get even more paranoid in a way.
Yeah.
I don't want to let on.
Yes.
And then I'm in Ireland. People are going to start talking. It's the valley of the squinted windows.
Yeah, and it's a really difficult thing to balance.
Okay.
And get right.
Here's another one for you. Well, I'll tell you what I'll do. First thing I'll do is I'll deal with the unhappiness later. But first of all, I'm going out to that place with stocks. The stocks. Where are they? The Maldives. Yeah. The houses on the stocks. Now, see how unhappy I'm going to be there. Right? So here's what happens to the people who go to the stocks. They go out to the stocks, and for the first day or two, they're kind of saying, this is great. Day 3, they're kind of going, this is it then. It's stocks again. Yeah. Right, so I did the swimming yesterday, which is, could rent the Cessna now and we could go across the other island. I've done that. Why aren't I happy now? Why aren't I feeling the buzz? And this is it. This is it. You've achieved this thing in your mind of, you've climbed to the mountain and you've looked around and you've gone, is this it? But why don't I feel amazing?
There's two things going on there, Mario. The first thing that's happened is you and I, we come to work every day, we work away, right? And we're thinking about our financial freedom in the future sometime. And if you think about it, like Westlife are coming to the Tree Arena. They're sold out a load of shows this year in the Tree Arena. Well done, Westlife, right? And there would be people who are going along to that just for nostalgic reasons. But those same people won't be disappointed if they don't get a ticket. Or they'd be, I'd love to have gone, but I'm not getting a ticket. Okay. There would have been a time 20 years ago where they would have bitten your hand off. They would have stepped over people to get a ticket first, right? 20 years from now, your joys and the things that you really love are going to be different than what they are today, right? And me and you go to work every day and we pick and choose and we drop things we hate and we pick up things we love and we don't know. When you win the lotto, your future is now. It's all of a sudden, you have to make all the decisions about all the things that make you happy right now today because your future
and hurry.
Yeah, and it's right here in front of you. But the other thing, it comes back to, we're full circle here. It comes back to, if you're not happy without the money, you're not going to be happy with the money.
Correct.
If you don't know what your happiness looks like when you're broke,
correct,
you're not going to know what it looks like. There's another piece of research that, let's just say,
like, just interrupt you there for a second. Yeah, do carry on, but just to interrupt, like, I know you can believe this if you want, but because I've thought of it, we've all thought about this. If I won 5 million or 10 million, right, I would not stop working because it defines me, a lot of who I am. And for me to stop that would take away a lot of my definition.
Yes.
I just do not fancy myself on a jet ski for more than 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Or I like golf, but not that much.
Yeah.
I already play as much tennis as I can, and I adore tennis, but I play as much as I can. I play 4 times a week, 3 times a week, and I won't be playing much more. And I don't you know, and I'm not going to go away and drag my family away on endless holidays. He's doing the leaving.
Yeah.
She's in school. Where am I going to go? Am I going to leave my family and just go on my own holidays? No. Yeah. So really, sorry, and it gets me back to the thing I didn't get to, which I was going to say to you, and that is, I think a lot of people, if they really look into their heart and soul, are like me, and that is that look back on the best times of your life. So, for example, I see now as being part of the best times of my life, and a few years ago as being part of the best times of my life. But I see it because I use the word striving. You're striving. You're trying hard. You're trying hard. You're under pressure. You're not too stressed out, but your life is, you experience quite a bit of a challenge. Yeah, it's a challenge to get my sketches done every day. I'm constantly trying to think of something new. And I'm trying hard, and I'm trying to reach goals. This feeling of striving is, I think, a really good human experience. And I think we're happiest when we're striving. The idea of trying to get there. Maybe never quite making it, but just trying.
Yes.
And that's why when you hear people who, let's say, have had enormous fame, for example, they go, my favourite time was the early days. Coming up through the clubs, trying to get there. Getting there was like, I look around and you go, well, what's next? So striving is a human condition that I think you feel positive.
Yeah.
You sleep better. You're constantly interested in walking and exercise to make yourself be ready for the next day. So you're doing good things, you know.
And I think I list out 30 big mistakes I see people do when I'm engaging with them financially. One of them is thinking they'll be happier when. I'll be happier when I'm rich. I'll be happier when I get my pay rise. I'll be happier when I get my promotion. I'll be happier when, right? And the really important thing is you may never get to when, and therefore you have to enjoy the journey. And that's what you're describing there. You have to enjoy the bit of the getting to the top.
Trying.
Because if you don't enjoy that, you're going to be miserable if you do get there, if you actually happen to get there.
There's also, this is to take it slightly into a more philosophical level, but I'm sure you've come across this yourself, but language, whether it's the English language or any language, is limited. So, for example, we are lumped with this word happy. Happy is the strangest, meaningless. What the hell does the word happy mean? I remember listening to one guy talk about the fact that the word happy should be eliminated because it means absolutely nothing. This feeling that they talk about is a combination of some feelings which are not necessarily you think are great, like for example being under pressure. People don't associate that with being happy. That is happiness. People take happiness as sitting on a cloud with your favourite chocolate bar thing with a load of money lying over there. Or George Best, right? The idea that, do you remember the famous story about George Best? Do you remember?
Go first, Demi. Which one?
So there's
so many famous stories about George Best.
This famous story about George Best. He's in the Ritz Hotel, or he's in the Savoy Hotel.
Yeah.
He has Miss World is sitting on the bed. He's just won 10 grand in the casino and a bottle of champagne, and he orders another bottle of champagne, and the waiter walks in and he sees George Best on the bed with Miss World and 10 grand in cash, and he goes, George, where did it all go wrong? Right? And the sad thing to that is that's such a 70s attitude of what happiness would have been. He's got his money from the casino and his bird, and he's George Best. He's famous. And what people didn't know was that George Best was in agony. He was absolutely crippled with fear and inhibition and sadness. He was the furthest thing from happy. And that's why they were there. He was chasing happiness, but you could never get. He was unhappy. He was in pain. And so this word happy is a ridiculous.
It is. And I think there's something really powerful in what you're saying there about happiness. And I think maybe happiness is a word that I've been talking a lot about in the last while. And maybe contentment, maybe being happy with where you are. There I am using the word again, but being accepting of where you are, recognizing that recognizing that that was a good day. I really enjoyed that. I have a little fellow with Down syndrome, and I remember when he was born, and his first couple of years. Anyone who's had a child with any additional needs will resonate with this. But one of the things I used to do when I was putting him to bed, and it was probably at a time when I was really struggling. Right, one of the things I used to do when I was putting him to bed was he wasn't talking at the time, but I'd say to him, today was a good day. Let's make tomorrow like today. And it was that simple.
Yeah,
right?
You got it.
And you know what? This is my opinion of Down syndrome. Other people will have, and particularly parents of kids with Downs or adults with Downs. For me, there was a description given to me about Down syndrome at one stage, that Down syndrome is like putting life in slow motion somewhat, right? And I'm not saying slow. That's not the word I'm using. But just you appreciate so much more about life, or I appreciate so much more about life when I watch it through Fionn's eyes. Like, it's just, he absorbs stuff that we don't see. He is more mindful. Like, there's people out there who are absolutely spending fortunes trying to teach themselves to be mindful.
Yes.
And he just has it.
Yes.
And he has this ability, but he also has this ability to connect with people that I've never seen with anyone else. Like, he's so honest. Like, he's in his mid-teens now.
Yeah.
I'll give you a perfect example. Like, it's just this intuition. We were walking out, I know we're going off topic, but let's go, right?
Let's do it.
We were walking out of Crow Park one day. It was kind of, we were up on the premium level, which is the kind of semi-corporate type thing, right? So you're left in there for about an hour afterwards, and the thing has started to settle down, and there was less crowds there. We were walking out, there was a group of lads who had just watched the match, and they were kind of standing in a circle having pints, right? And Fionn walked into the middle of them. Like, where is he going, right? And he walks into the middle and he fist pumps a guy. Your man fist pumps and goes to the next guy, fist pumps, fist pumps, fist pumps. And as he gets to the last guy, he goes to fist pump him. As your man goes to fist pump him, Fionn put his hand through his own hair and went like this, and your man was left hanging, right? And the lads cracked up laughing.
Yeah.
Fionn was delighted. But then the next comment from the lads was, how did he know to do it to him? How did he know to do it to him? And obviously that was the best person in the group to really... And look, it could have been pure coincidence,
Right.
but there's so many things in Fionn's life
Yeah.
that there's just too much coincidence there.
Okay.
Yeah, but sorry, I'm not sure how we got it, but I think Fionn, he's content. He's happy.
We got the idea of acceptance. Today was a good day. Let's make today like tomorrow. And you were explaining how Fionn possibly understands that in his own way better than most of us.
And I think Fionn just lives in the moment.
Exactly.
He's living in right now, and he's either happy right now or he's sad right now.
Yeah,
and that's it. And
true. And just to maybe to finish that side of it, I think gratitude is very important. You mentioned the word acceptance there. I think gratitude is very important, and to understand how lucky you are to be breathing healthily, to be able to get up out of bed, to be able to walk down to the kitchen, to be able to drive or take a bus or be independent. These are all, you've already achieved 95.75% of life's possible contentment range when you compare it to other people who have so many unfortunate health problems.
Yeah.
Or you compare it, for example, as Jimmy Carr points out, who's in a few videos he's been doing. I mean, even the idea of taking a hot shower. In 1928, 99.9% of the world's population didn't have access to a hot shower. Yeah. Now, everybody has access to a hot shower. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's a kind of a daily, twice daily thing that we have a luxury of doing. So be grateful for what you have.
Yeah.
And yet people are as unhappy as they ever were, and you could say maybe more unhappy. Let me change it around a little bit. I mean, Patrick, when he was doing up his notes for me as well, when we were doing a bit of research on you, he mentioned that your father was sick when you were young.
Yeah.
And did that there was certain financial insecurity there. Tell me about the financial insecurity first of all.
When I was 2, Dad had a heart attack. He had a quadruple bypass. When I was 6, he had another heart attack. He had 2 stents put in. When I was 8, he had another heart attack. He had a quintuple bypass, 5 of them, right? And he was only 48 at the time. And he turned to his cardiologist and he said, 48 years of age, the last 6 years I've had 3 major heart incidents. What am I doing wrong? And the doctor said 2 things, Michael. One, you've got sticky blood. It's just hereditary. You're doing all you can. And he did look after himself. And then second, it's stress. What's the biggest stress in your life? Now, Dad had nothing to do with my industry, my profession, but Dad turned around and says, probably work. And the doctor said, could you afford to give up work? Dad said, I didn't know. I don't know if I can or not. And he went off to check. Somebody and I'm going to call it an insurance salesman, sold Dad in the 80s an income protection policy.
Oh.
So people may or may not know what an income protection, but in simple terms, if the insurance company's doctor says you're unfit for work, they'll pay you up to 75% of your wage until you're ready to go back to work.
So he was lucky to have had this.
Yeah, he was lucky. He had just taken it out as an insurance policy until you're ready to go back to work or you hit retirement, whichever comes first. So at 50 years of age, took Dad a little while to get his head around it. He had a very successful career. 50 years of age, he stopped working.
And was able to get
75% of
unreal.
Age. Yeah. And what I believe happened there was Dad is dead 5 years now. Last month he died 5 years ago, and he died at 78 years of age.
Okay.
And I believe we got 28 years extra with Dad.
Wow.
Maybe we would have got to 55 or 56, but the stress was going to get him. And I'm not saying, I was 10 when he stopped working. And I'm not saying I said, I'm going to sell income protection for the rest of my life. But when I came out of college, I went working in Irish Life, who happened to be the people who were paying his income protection to him. I very quickly realised I want to do for other families.
Yes.
What that insurance
It resonated with you.
Yeah. I want to do the same thing. And that's where it all stems from. That's why I do what I do. And it's,
So you had a bit of a drive to do it.
yeah, absolutely. And I'm a strong believer in people are served better with good financial planning than they are without it. And I'm a strong believer in give it away in truckloads. Like, let people take what they can. Not everyone's going to engage. And that's the purpose of this book, actually. The purpose of this book is there are certain people out there who will never engage with a financial planner. And I want to load them up with as much information as they could possibly have to try and make the best of it for themselves. But if you are going to engage with a financial planner and you want to read this book, you're going to be better informed about engaging with a financial planner. People who have a financial planner have 2.5 times the net worth of people who don't when they reach retirement. And that's a big sales pitch, but I absolutely categorically believe in it. Yep. And I just want to do it. And that's why I do what I do. Like, I just want to make things better, whether that's my Q&A on a Saturday on Instagram, whether that's actually phenomenal. I don't know if you follow me on, I definitely follow you, Mario, but I don't know if you follow me on Instagram, but I'll put up a question box on Saturday morning and I'll get somewhere between 800 and 1,200 questions.
Amazing.
And what happens with them is...
How many followers do you have?
I have 160 odd thousand.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, and what'll happen with it is the question goes up. Everyone gets to see the question. Everyone gets to see the answer. Yeah. But nobody gets to see who asked the question. Right. Perfect for Ireland. Like, absolutely. When it comes to money, it's just perfect. And just when you say nothing, I'm actually going to tell you a story. I'm going to jump here for a second. Yeah. So I was in court for a traffic offence, right? Which I didn't get done for. We can go into it all if you want. I didn't. They got it wrong, and I was in there, and I said, I'm fighting for this, and I got it, and it was thrown out, right? But I was standing in the court, in the hall in the court. And like, you're standing there and there's people who are maybe a little bit down on their luck or on the wrong side of the law, and you're there's a varying range of people in the hall waiting to go into the court to see the judge, particularly on a traffic offence. It's a mixture of lots of mixed bag. So I kind of you could see him looking at me, and he kind of come over and he says, you're a man off the telly, aren't you? And I said, yeah, that's right. Can I just ask you something? I said, Jen, you know when you're going for a house and you're getting a mortgage? And I said, yeah. Did they ask you where you got the deposit?
That's great. Say nothing.
So, yeah.
And you said, just say you won it on the horses.
Yeah, just say, go and find somebody who can do it for you on the horses. But, yeah, sorry, it is. I love doing what I do. I love the Instagram. I love writing the books. There's nothing better. And it's no different. I said it, Jen. I could see you get a sparkle before we started here. I said, like, I love what you do with your sketches. And you get something from that. I love, like, people come up to me on the street, say, like, I read your book, Eoin, and I got my house, or I was in this trouble and I got the advice I needed from the stuff that you put out on Instagram. Like, how privileged would a person be? Like,
and how happier
as
can you
in
get?
Me being so privileged.
Yeah, so you're experiencing that. That's something that I experience as well, and I repeat this because, like, just a kernel of this. The basic thing that I do every day is I walk into an office, I sit with 2 or 3 people, Ian Dempsey, Charlie, or whatever, and I pitch them ideas for things that are going on inside my head. They'll nod, and then we'll all decide, let's do that one for tomorrow. Then I'll go away and I'll write it. And while I'm writing it, I'm giggling and I'm writing it. And then I'll send it away to a guy called Paul Duffy, and he's a brilliant engineer. And he'll send it back to me later in the evening, and he'll go, this is it, Mario. And I'll go, he normally knows all the sound and everything that I want. So I'll go, that's great, Paul, send it to Ian and Charlie. And that'll go out at 8:10 tomorrow morning. And then when you hear that somebody in their cars or whatever is laughing their head off or whatever at that sketch, you couldn't, that just makes your entire week.
Yes.
To think that something that came out of your head ended up on paper first, then on audio, and then transmitted to millions of people live, and that it made people happy. The idea that a person in traffic, for example, is laughing at a traffic stop, and they look next door to the car and the other person's laughing at the same time, and instead of snarling at each other or waving their fist at each other, they kind of go, oh, you're obviously fair play, you're listening to the thing. And that is, for me, the closest I'll ever get to being Jesus. The idea of bringing people together and going, love each other. It's my little thing. I feel like I'm doing something in the world that means I'm here.
Yeah.
And that's
It's funny you say that, because one of the things, like, I love doing TV and I love that, and you get some feedback off that from Instagram or on social when it's going out. You get a bit of that, and it's all happening at the same time. I love the Instagram on a Saturdays, the Q&A, and you get to see the questions and you get to see that interaction. I've done live shows recently, and I know you do live shows all the time, right? So I did one last.
That's right. Live shows. So you do these live shows around the country, like the Helix and everything, and all these theatres. I mean, as I was saying to you outside, everything now is a live show. The Vet is a live show. Noel Fitzpatrick, Brian Cox, The Space. Cooking live shows. Obviously comedians. Just economics. Remember David McWilliams and everything going.
Economics is a massive thing. It's
exactly
huge. Yeah,
and now financial planning, the live show.
Yeah, so financial planning, and it's interesting because when I was thinking about doing it, I put it up on Instagram the first day I did the first one in the Lime Tree in Limerick. I was at an event. Nicola Tallant actually was doing an event in the Lime Tree, and I went to see it in Limerick. And I walked out and I said, I'd love to do that. And I said that was just felt great. The whole being in the same room, talking about the same thing at the same time. Yeah. And then, of course, you know this, and I should have known this, but you stand on a live stage and you look out, you can see nothing except the bright lights in your face. And you know what? You get very attuned to the noises coming, like the giggles coming.
Oh, yes.
You get and you would have laughs every couple of seconds. I'm a financial planner. I'm not funny, right? But you still get a couple of giggles here and there.
I would be worried if people were laughing their heads off at you, going like, so anyway, all of you could be financially independent. Yeah, man.
So, but it's still, I got stripped very quickly of, I thought I'd be seeing the audience in my head, but you don't see the audience, but you hear and you feel the audience, and it's amazing. It was an amazing.
You can't beat live nights.
And we've done 2, and there's talk about 2 and 2 more in different parts of the country. Yeah. And I think we probably will. I really have the bug now, and I loved it. Now I do corporate speaking all the time, so I'm often in seminars and doing in canteens and companies and doing that a huge amount. And you get a lot of immediate feedback. I love that. Yeah. But to take it onto a stage,
exactly, it's different, isn't it? With the lights and the dark and people seated like that. Yeah, it is interesting. So your dad, that was fantastic. I mean, I'm sorry to hear that he died 5 years ago, but he did live a lot longer than maybe he would have.
He absolutely lived longer. And you know what he did as well? Like, he got involved, right? So imagine this man had had a very successful career. Now, he was in the civil service. He was very successful. He had a really great job, actually, Mario. I don't know what he did, right? Back in the 80s, and 80s really, because he gave up the end of the kind of 1990-ish is when he gave up. He got funding from the government for the benefit of inner city kids in Dublin, right? And he would do things like, there was a place called Clore. I don't know where Clore is, right? But we used to get brought down to Clore as kids. I'm the youngest of 4 boys and 3 older brothers. And we'd be brought down because Dad would write a check. I'm sure today you wouldn't be allowed to do it, right? Dad would write a check for places like Clore. And Clore was like canoeing and orienteering and archery and everything else. And every summer, the type of summer projects would take a busload of kids from the inner city of Dublin and bring them down to Clore.
Brilliant, yeah.
And every year we'd go down and they kind of go, okay, this is the check you gave us last year. This is how much, this is where we spent it. And if you give us a check this year, this is where we're going to spend it next year, right? And we were treated great. We got to go canoeing. We got to go do all these things to test it all out. Yeah. And it was just an amazing experience because you had... I remember talking to one of the lads, and he was my age, from inner city in Dublin, and remember, this was the 80s. Ireland was a very different place at the time. But I remember saying to him, "This is deadly. I love the town here." And I said, "Yeah, have you been down here before?" And he goes, "No, this is the first time we've been outside Dublin." And I just went, "What a fascinating job my dad has, and he's creating these kind of experiences and experiences,
life moments,
it was fabulous,
memorable moments.
Yeah, he did great. But then when he gave up work, he went into he drove the school bus. So every football match I played, Dad was there, right? He joined the board of the Parents Association of the school. So every time I was walking through the school corridors, he was there, right? Not every time, but he was there. I remember one day we used to have a bench outside the staff room. When you got in trouble, you got put on the bench. I remember sitting on the bench, hadn't been on it in a year. Next minute, Dad starts walking up the corridor, and the vice principal starts walking the other way, and the vice principal grabs him and goes, "I haven't seen him on the bench. Don't give out to him." Right? I haven't seen him. But the point is he was there.
Sounds like you really admired him.
He was fantastic. And one of the things, I have 3 older brothers. Yeah. And one of the things that's amazing is he had a different way of engaging with the 4 of us. He's an amazing communicator.
Really?
Different, and he would draw on different things from you. Like, he knew your kind of area of expertise, and that was the conversation he had with you. And he made you feel very, very needed, very important.
Wow.
He had huge time for all of us. And it's interesting because I think a lot of the business acumen side of things came from him, and probably my big brother. My eldest brother, is 10 years older than me. So he was kind of, when I was coming of kind of awareness around the business world, he was kind of going into college and doing different things. And I would have looked up to him, and I still do look up. He's my big brother, and still looked up to him. So business acumen was probably Dad and my eldest brother David. But then there's a compassion thing. My mother was a therapist, so a family therapist, and there's a compassion thing on that side. And then one of my brothers is a mental health nurse, and he's a manager. I can never get so that he kind of had that diversity. And because my next brother to me was 5 years older than me, and therefore I adulted quite quickly, but I was absorbing a lot of adult stuff as a very young child and getting to pull the best of all of them into it all at the same time.
I get you.
So it was a great upbringing, brilliant upbringing, and it was really enjoyable. But I really did get to witness some of the great.
Yeah, and also
there
was a lot of caring around as well. You know, whether it's your mum or whether it's your brother.
Yeah.
Or whether it's the interest that your dad showed in all of you. What a great dad he sounds.
And then my other brother, who I haven't mentioned about it better, just in case you listen to it, he lives in Australia now, and he was the closest in age to me, and we just had the best crack. We were best mates, and it was just he was an all rounder.
What is one of the things we mentioned outside, and that it is peculiar to Ireland, is that it seems, I don't know how much you can say about this, but it seems as though we in Ireland aren't great at all at talking about money. Are other countries better? And I would say, even off my own knowledge, yes, they are. I mean, look at the United States. I mean, typical conversation between two strangers would be, look, I pulled down $130,000 last year. What did you do?
95,000. I mean, but I'm into this industry.
I say, what I need to do to make 200. They're all talking numbers the whole time. Yeah. How much did you make? Is not a ignorant question in America.
Absolutely not.
It is in Ireland.
It absolutely is. And I think even if you take that even further, in the States, if you succeed, it's well done. You get a pat on the back. If you fail, you get a pat on the back and say, you're going to learn from that.
Get up off your ass.
You're going to do
get drunk at the weekend and get up on Monday and start a new company.
And go again. And there's no shame in failure. Whereas here there is. Like, I've seen people go through really difficult business times and the business fails and they feel like hiding, and they do hide sometimes, and they just go, I can't do this. Or like something goes wrong in the business world and it's like, oh. Now, and then the opposite is something goes really right and they who do they know? How did they get there? Right? So you've got that whole thing about success and failure.
And then who do you think you are?
Yeah, who do you think you are? And
remember the old story about Bono? Bono is this is maybe apocryphal that Bono tells this story, but it's his understanding of the difference between Americans and Irish. And he looks up at the house on the hill. He talks about the men who look up at the house on the hill, big house on the hill. And he says the American looks up at the big house on the hill and the big rich man on the house on the hill, and he goes, someday I'm going to be that guy. That's America. In Ireland, they go, someday I'm going to get that guy.
But it's true.
Totally different.
It's very true. And that's the problem that we do have. So therefore, when you've got those kind of outside things, why are you going to turn around and say, yeah, I made X amount last year?
Also, I think this is a slightly different area, but generally when it comes to, generally my own feeling when it comes to financial matters and money is that when I'm with people who are within my own sort of sphere, I would have no issue chatting to them at all, especially in my own business. And the reason for that is I think it's healthy a lot of the time to discuss certain financial things so that we are in effect helping each other.
Absolutely.
Right? So when we're all ignorant and let's say everybody in the company hasn't a clue what the other person's getting, you are at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
Because by, in a sense, people sharing that kind of information, you are, in a sense, informally unionizing yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
You are basically getting at the boss going, hang on, I know that Mary makes 100 grand.
Yeah.
I should be.
Yeah.
Because she told me.
Yeah.
Right? But if nobody knows, then you can't fight your corner.
And even to think about that in a more granular level, or even in a slightly different angle to that, right? 1 in 3 people really struggle with their finances, right? So there's actually 3 of us in the room. If people aren't looking, there's 3 of us in the room. Statistically, one of us is really struggling right now, right? If you're not struggling, Mario, then there's a 50% chance it's me or Leanne, right? So it's one of the two of us is going to be struggling. And what I would ask people to do who are listening to
and
this,
the chances that it's you is very, very low. It means, Leanne, where did it all go wrong? Not in a George Best way, but Leanne, how are you even here? Wait, did I pass you earlier on shaking that cup in the street? Yeah.
So
it's you, Leanne. It's you.
The thing is, what I've been asking people to do for a couple of years, right? And I started this about 4 or 5 years ago. Every time I get a chance, every time I get an opportunity, the only way we're breaking the taboo about finances is to talk about it, right? So in the last 15 years, we've done an amazing job. I could turn around and we could turn this conversation on its head right now. And I could turn around to you, Mario, and say, Mario, I woke up this morning, I wasn't feeling great. And me and you could openly speak for the next 20 minutes about my mental health, and that would be okay. And you know what? Even your listeners would be totally accepting of it. That's just the world we live in. But we won't talk to our mates about money, right? And my ask is, the only way we're breaking the taboo is one conversation at a time. And my ask is, go and talk to some. When you hear me say this on Mario's podcast, make it your business in the next week to talk to one person about money that you've never spoken to them about money before. Say to them, what's the best thing you ever did with your money? What's your relationship like with your money? You don't have to share your payslip or your bank statement.
You can be discreet about it. Yeah.
And just open the door, because two things happen there. First of all, the person you've just spoken to now knows if ever they're in trouble, or they're in trouble right now, the door is open. But you also know what reaction you got from them, that if ever you're in trouble, you can go to them. And you'd be shocked, the conversation. I've been asking people to do this for years, and people have come to me afterwards and say, you know what happened? I spoke to them,
very interesting,
and they were in a really difficult place,
yeah.
And nobody had asked them, and people who they thought were noticing were refusing to notice it, and were moving on and brushing it to one side, and just opening that door made a difference. And the only way we're getting to where we are, and I'm delighted where we are with mental health, right? And it's only right, but the only way we're getting to the same place with finances is one conversation at a time.
Correct. It's very un-Irish.
Yes.
It's very un-Irish, yeah, and I think you're right. One of the things I was preaching about a couple of years ago was we're excellent at talking about mental health, and in fact, even something like miscarriage.
Yeah,
you know, I remember miscarriage was a taboo years ago, but no longer.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, you can freely now. People openly talk about miscarriage and the pain it brings, and the sadness of the loss, you know. But people do talk about that now, you know. One of the things I think people don't talk about, is, as well as money, is estrangement.
Yes.
Estrangement from family members.
Yep.
It's endemic in Ireland.
Absolutely.
And it's a taboo.
Yes.
It's a taboo. And it's almost regarded as kind of a shame or embarrassing to say, for example, that, you know, I haven't spoken to my mum or dad in 10 years or whatever. Oh, they're dead, are they? No, they're not dead. They're fully alive, actually. But we were estranged.
And I think that taboo comes from, to be estranged from somebody is as a result of years and years of events, circumstances, or maybe some one big event, right? Depending on.
No, you're right. Actually, but it's not. You're right. It's an accrual.
Yes.
Of
and for you to open, for somebody who's estranged from somebody to open that door, you're very vulnerable. The person is very vulnerable because they end up in a position where I can't explain 6 years of the lead up to this. And therefore, how can that person totally or even begin to understand how, hey, it's not my fault or it's not their fault or whatever the case is. So it's such a complex thing that it's a very difficult thing just to have out in the open and talk about.
And the word fault is a bit like that word happy. It's a big word, which means it's hard to know if it means anything.
Yes.
You know, I mean, if you, for example, explain marriage breakup, the word fault is an enormous word to use. Sometimes it isn't anybody's fault. And blame shouldn't be apportioned always.
Yes.
And shame of the fault, of the failure, shouldn't be apportioned. Again, using that word failure of a relationship breaking down. Why is it called a failure? It's not necessarily a failure to have a relationship breakdown. It is what it is. But anyway, that moves it on to a different thing. John and Mary, Sean, August, Moira, two mum and dad and boy and girl. What's the biggest single mistake or thing, if you could only give them one thing to do with their financial lives?
A practical tip, like?
Yeah, a practical tip.
I think the biggest mistake we see is, and this is on lots of different levels, the biggest mistake we see is people work hard for their money, but their money doesn't work hard for them, right? We have 160 billion sitting in bank accounts right now. I have a thing called the 5-year.
In savings.
In savings deposits, yeah.
And
it's from people. No.
In deposits.
Deposits, yeah.
It's sitting in the bank.
Sitting in the bank.
People have that much money.
160 billion. And
that's 160 billion which isn't working.
Not working at all.
That's at 2%.
It's on crappy interest rates. Like all
160 billion at 2% or 1%.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's not even including on post, which is I think is another 20. It's not including the credit unions. So we are awash with cash, or a certain portion of society are awash with cash, right? And I have a thing called the 5-year rule. The 5-year rule says, my 5-year rule says, if you need the money in the next 5 years, stick it at a bank account, credit union on post. Interest rates are crap. Don't beat yourself up about what you're getting because they're all crap, right? So that's where it belongs. If you don't need the money in the next 5 years, get it out of there and get it invested.
Yeah.
And people go, invest in shares, I'm scared, right? You're not scared, just nobody's ever explained it to you in a way that you understand, so therefore you're scared of it. You're just not informed.
If you invested in a pension, it is investing in shares.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. My anecdotal kind of evidence experience would be 104 billion of that 160 shouldn't be in bank accounts. It will not be spent in the next 5 years. And let me give you a really practical example, because you mentioned Sean and Maura, right? The two kids.
Yeah.
Let's imagine Maura is born this morning and the mummy and daddy decide, you know what, we can afford not to use the child benefit, right? We can afford to put it away for Maura's college.
Yeah.
And they put the 140 euros a month aside. And if you don't have kids and you're listening to this, 140 euro a month, the calculation is still the same. It's just 100. It's just maths. 140 quid a month. They put the 140 euros a month aside for the next 18 years. If they get 1% in a bank account, they manage to get 1% over that 18 years in a bank account, they're going to come out with 33 grand. Let's ignore tax, 33,000 euro. If they invested it and got a standard kind of 4.5% growth on it, right, they're going to come out with 44,000 euros.
As opposed to?
33.
Yeah.
In a bank account. Now, what I did was I was going on stage last week and I went and looked at a fund that was available, and I didn't cherry pick it. I just said, that fund has been around for years. Pick that one there. Let's run the maths on it and see if it was maturing last Tuesday and you put 140 quid a month into it, how much would you have today? Again, ignoring tax, 68,000 euros. That fund is still available today. It was available 18 years ago to everyone in the country.
And you know what makes that fund so beautiful? It's this alchemy, this magic that we have in the world called compound interest.
Yeah.
Compound interest is just completely magic.
Yeah.
It's like Keith Barry just conjuring money out of nothing.
Look at Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett is in his 90s, one of the richest men in the world. He's investing from the age of 13 years of age.
Yeah, was he?
Yeah, and he's worth over 100 billion.
Yeah.
Let's just round it to 100 billion, right? Let's just say he's worth 100 billion today. How much of that 100 billion did you think he had when he was 50? Now, he started when he was 13. How much of the 100 billion that he has today do you think he had when he was 50?
1.
Exactly. 1% of his current wealth he had at the age of 50, and he's in his mid-90s now. That's compound interest.
Exactly.
That 140 euros a month that we're talking about in the child benefit, that's the same money being used in a different way, getting a very different result. And that's the biggest mistake we see. There's a big push coming from Europe at the moment, right, where there's so much money sitting in cash across Europe in deposit accounts not being used that could be freed up and invested into.
And there must
European
be a way
companies.
of freeing it up. In other words, imagine, this is bullshit now, right? So you've probably been through this in your mind, but imagine I'm Pascal Donoghue, not Pascal, the new Pascal, whatever. Simon Harris, actually. Yeah. And I say, I have a meeting at the banks and I go, guys, there's 160 billion in your accounts. What about we encourage, there's 120 billion of that you talked about. What about we encourage our customers, we contact them, encourage them to take it out? Yeah, but what if they have the right to say no and to leave it there? They do have the right to say no. What about we offer them a kind of insurance against any potential losses, knowing that we probably won't lose because we're going to invest this in just a 4.5% mutual decent fund. That could and then we share, and almost like
we share it.
Well, almost you share it, but you increase the wealth.
Yes. And one of the interesting SSIA was a little bit like that. People might remember SSIA. You put in €4, the government put in 1.
That's right.
That's the way it worked. It was there was a little bit of an insurance, but you went off and chose whether you wanted to put it in a deposit account or invest in the markets. That was the choice you made at the time, and there was an encouragement there. What I think there's lower hanging fruit than restructuring the whole thing. Like we've seen for the first time, investments in Ireland. This is going to get a bit kind of technical here. Investments in Ireland, typically, there's a couple of different regimes, but typically you used to pay 41% tax on the growth. In the most recent budget, they've reduced it to 38% tax. I'm hoping that it's going down to 33. When I started 27 years ago, I'm realising, when I started advising clients and started in this profession, it was 20%. Right? So that's the first thing that needs to make it more attractive. Now, I always say if you're paying tax, you're making money, right? But I need to make it more attractive for people not to have it. But the other thing is there's a thing called deemed disposal, right? That if you invest money and you don't take it out in the first 8 years, after 8 years, they tax you as if you did.
Yeah.
And that's killing people's compound interest like you were talking about.
Can I ask you a sticky question?
Of course you can, yeah.
This is Ireland.
Yeah.
A small country.
Yep.
And I don't mean that in any. I don't mean that in a pejorative way. I mean, because we're small, we're a little parochial and everybody knows everybody. If I go to financial Prosperous,
Prosperous, my company, yeah.
Prosperous, is it what's it called?
Prosperous Financial, yeah.
Prosperous Financial. If I go to Prosperous Financial or
ABC,
Financial
yeah.
or Financial Prosperous,
Yeah.
another one. How sure can I be that there's discretion?
That you keep your mouth shut, that I keep my mouth shut. There's a couple of things.
Everybody, at the end of the day, we're just human.
Absolutely. I totally and utterly. My business, I can't talk for anyone else, but let's talk. I can't talk about Financial Prosperous, but I can talk about Prosperous Financial. My business is built on confidentiality. I have siblings that are both clients and they don't know each other clients.
Okay.
And what we would do is we would say to clients, you know what, happy with us.
But if you take on an employee, right?
Yeah.
A high level employee with a degree in finance and economics and everything, and his name is James, let's say, right? I don't know who any of your employees, so if there's a James there, it's not you. And let's say his name is James, and James impresses the hell out of you. And you're going, I'm hiring James, and I'll even pay above because he's going to do well with my company. But it turns out James is an awful blabbermouth. Yeah. Right? He could do a lot of damage.
He could do a lot of absolutely.
And then he'll be fired.
Yeah, absolutely. He would get fired, and you can tie people up in a whole pile of legals before they join and confidentiality agreements, and you can do all of that. But ultimately, you have to make sure that James is the right fit for the company. And ultimately, we walk into the office and we have our core values written. When my company, Prosperous, my company, that's unfair because I have a shareholder with it as well, Colin now, right? But I set up Prosperous in 2008, and I brought Colin in 4 years ago. Coming up on 5 years ago, and I said, Colin, I just want to deal with my clients. I'm really happy dealing with my clients. I don't want to deal with all the staff and the central bank and the accounts. I just want to go into my client meetings. I want to help you at board level, and I want to do this stuff as my media stuff, my corporate speaking, my podcast with Mario, whatever else. So Colin has taken us from 4 staff to 40 staff in 4 years. And we've grown at 40% growth on average in 22, 23 and 24, and we hit nearly 100% growth last year, right? And one of the things you do when you're going from 4 staff to 40 staff is you hire a lot of people. And sometimes you get that wrong. And sometimes you kind of go, oh, what are we going to do here? And one thing is, I think it's fair on the employee if it's wrong to let them go as soon as possible, and it's fairer on us. But one of the things, the big fears I had when the business was going to be scaled up, there was going to be more people in it, is would they do it the way I do it? Am I going to be okay that people are going to be looked after when they come in? Because I know when the customer's in front of me, I'm going to do my best to look after them. But that's where the core values come in. Like our core values are transparency. We will make sure that everything is transparent. We will always do the right thing by the client, even if it's not the right thing by us. And sorry, I'm not going to, it's not a party political broadcast, but my point is what we find, and when we do meetings and company briefings where we spend the whole day together, everyone lives, breathes and sleeps the core values. And when they don't, they very quickly feel like they don't fit.
I know what you mean.
And therefore, it's about, you can tie people down with contracts and you can tie people, there's an expectation of them. The other thing is the industry is very small. The profession is very small.
It's true, but it's just like, I'm talking to my banker on the phone, right? So I'm in AIB, right? And I'm talking to my banker on the phone and he's there. Yeah, I'll just bring up the account now, Mario. And it's everything in front of him. Yeah. He then knows everything to do with my financial thing. Now, to be honest with you, that's not a big deal to me. I know it should be a bigger deal, but probably isn't a big deal to me, but it is a big deal for most people. Yeah. They go, I don't want Jimmy to be going blabbering it out in the local. Yeah. So I was just seeing Mario's account there.
The only thing is, it's a different level for you because you're in the public eye, right? That's one thing. But the other thing is I believe I do an incredibly diligent job with my clients. But I'll be honest, I had a meeting this morning at 10 o'clock. I haven't a clue what was in that now. Like, if you ask me, what does Mario's accounts look like? Yeah. I know it there and then when I need to know it, but I'm seeing them all day, every day.
So you're like a doctor. They become just a number in a way.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Eoin, thank you so much. This is the book. I'm going to hold it up. Eoin McGee, How to Achieve Financial Freedom. And it's great, Eoin, as well, to be able to talk to you about the other areas associated with, because money is a thing that there's so much areas off it, isn't there? About, this, even to do with this word happiness and everything like that.
Only a tool.
It's only a tool. That's very interesting. And good luck at the live shows.
Thanks.
Who's anyone coming up or?
Yeah, so I have. Well, by the time this goes out, it will be done. The Helix will be done. But we're talking about doing 2 more, maybe down the kind of southwest somewhere. But we haven't confirmed anything yet. Let's see how it goes.
All right, brilliant. Lovely talking to you.
Thank you, Mario.
Congratulations on the book. Well done.
And my thanks to Eoin McGee. Great to see him again. It's funny because sitting opposite him, he was so genuine in everything he was saying about why he wanted to become a financial advisor in the first place. And there was something vocational about it all. And I really enjoyed chatting to Eoin, and I hope his book goes great. See you same time, same place next week. Bye, folks.